the prelude to the Mass. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. For all of you who are or want to be priests or priestesses, I would like to recommend that you visit an Orthodox Mass like Crowley did, to get the feel and see a temple set up, and periodically walk through the Mass with someone holding the script so that you can justify your movements and be sure that you're really saying the words correctly. This is when you rehearse. Now to really begin, Crowley writes, this quote, "The single supreme ritual is the attainment of the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. It is the raising of the complete man in a vertical straight line. Any deviation from this line tends to become black magic. Any other operation is black magic," unquote. In the ceremony of the Gnostic Mass, the priestess magically assumes the identity of the goddess Nuit or Nu, and the priest assumes the identity of the god Hadit or Had. The first 5 words of the Book of the Law are Had, the manifestation of Nuit. Our holy prophet commented upon these words thusly, "In Nu is Had concealed, by Had is Nu manifested. Nu being 56 and Had 9, their conjunction results in 65. Adonai, the holy guardian angel." This is the formula of the Mass. 1. Of the furnishings of the temple. In the east, that is in the direction of Boleskine, which is situated on the southeastern shore of Loch Ness in Scotland, 2 miles east of Foyers.
Boleskine House was Crowley's home when the Book of the Law was written. This is where he commenced his Abramelin operation to invoke his holy guardian angel. In chapter 3, verse 34 of the Book of the Law, Aiwass tells Crowley, "But your holy place shall be untouched throughout the centuries, though with fire and sword it be burnt down and shattered. Yet an invisible house there standeth, and shall stand until the fall of the great equinox." Boleskine enumerates to 418, the same as Abrahadabra, the union of 5 and 6, the magician and the holy guardian angel.
Is a shrine or high altar. Its dimensions should be 7 feet in length, 3 feet in breadth, 44 inches in height.
I read, although at the moment I can't remember where, these are the dimensions that are the same as those of the sarcophagus in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid.
It should be covered with a crimson altar cloth, on which may be embroidered fleur-de-lis in gold, or a sunblaze, or other suitable emblem.
Fleur-de-lis could be viewed as the union of lingam and yoni. Sunblaze will soon see its appropriateness.
On each side of it should be a pillar or obelisk, which countercharges in black and white, standard temple furniture for a Tree of Life temple. Below it should be the dais of 3 steps in black and white squares.
We might look at the dais of 3 steps as being the approach to the abyss, its threefold nature being a repetition of the pattern set by the birth of Kether from Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Ar, and the supernal triad itself. The black and white squares may indicate the catastrophic breaking up of the light in the abyss.
Above it is the super altar, at whose top is the stele of revealing and reproduction, with 4 candles on each side of it.
If we look at a floor plan, the stele is Kether, source of our being and the crown of our temple. 8 candles. The tarot card, the Chariot, shows the chapel of the Holy Grail on wheels. The starry canopy of the chapel of the Holy Grail is, by tradition, supported by 8 pillars.
Below the stele is a place for the Book of the Law, with 6 candles on each side of it.
The Book of the Law is positioned like the sun, surrounded by the 12 signs of the zodiac. The power of the crown is transmitted by the Word. The Word of this particular worship service is embodied in the Book of the Law and will be received by the Holy Grail.
Below this again is the Holy Grail, with roses on each side of it.
If we squint our eyes and use a little imagination, we can see the lamen of the OTO in these major articles of the shrine or high altar. The triangle with the all-seeing eye of Horus is the stele. The Book of the Law could be viewed as the descending dove of the Holy Spirit who delivers the Word. Remember, in Christian mysticism, the Holy Spirit functions as the transmitter member of the Holy Trinity. The Holy Grail, the worthy vessel, which, when prepared, receives this all-creative energy and power.
There is room in front of the cup for the paten, not in back of the cup, not on the right of the cup, not on the left of the cup, but not even separated from the cup. There is room in front of the cup for the paten.
The paten holds the host or cake of light and will be brought in by the priestess.
On each side, beyond these roses, are 2 great candles.
That brings the total number of candles to 22, 11 on each side of the altar.
All this is enclosed within a great veil.
The veil of the abyss, which separates the supernal triad from the rest of the tree.
Forming the apex of an equilateral triangle whose base is a line drawn between the pillars, is a small black square altar of superimposed cubes.
The Antiphoreth. In our temple, this altar is the approximate dimension of 2 superimposed cubes. 2 superimposed cubes represents 10 surfaces. It's a tree of life itself, the top and bottom being the Kether and Malkuth.
Taking this altar as the middle of the base of a similar and equal triangle, at the apex of this second triangle is a small circular font.
Yesod.
Repeating the apex of a third triangle is an upright tomb.
Malkuth. Part 2 of the Officers of the Mass. It's important to remember when discussing the officers of the Mass, especially the priest and priestess, that their characters, even the nature of their offices, changes during the course of the ceremony. The priestess who draws the priest out of the tomb at the start of the ceremony is a very different spiritual character than the one who offers him the cup at the climax of the operation. The descriptions of the officers that we're about to read here at the very beginning are very generic.
The priest bears the sacred lance.
The priest is equipped with the ultimate pointy thing. Before this is all over, we're going to get tired of hearing the word phallus.
And is clothed at first in a plain white robe.
The symbolism of the plain white robe perhaps is indicative of internal purity. The magician in the tarot has an undergarment of white and an outer garment of red. Notice it doesn't say the priest has to be anything. That's not the case, however, with the priestess.
The priestess should be actually Virgo intacta, or specially dedicated to the service of the great order.
In a famous marginal note, Crowley wrote the words, quote, "a sworn whore. I'd be a hoe for the OTO." Without getting into dangerous territory, we might venture to speculate aloud that there may be in the OTO's graded degree system an event by which and through which one dedicates oneself to the service of the great order in such a way as to make this curious statement an appropriate analogy. Critics of the Mass who are unaware of this event are consequently ignorant of the fundamental symbolic character of the priestess, and cannot but hopelessly misunderstand everything she says and does from this point onward. Does this mean that the priest doesn't have to be specially dedicated to the service of the great order? We may see later on, but it certainly reveals that before the ceremony even starts, the priestess is possessed of a level of spiritual integrity that is not required of the other officers.
She is clothed in white, blue, and gold.
Again, the purity of white, blue, and gold, perhaps indicating the night sky and the stars, which identifies her as the goddess Nuit, the queen of heaven.
She bears the sword.
Let the woman be girt with a sword. Sword, invoked power, intellect, ruach, discrimination, offense, defense. In the symbolism of the tarot, the suit of swords represents the element air, the Vav of Yod-He-Vav-He, and of course the Vav of the Tetragrammaton is the Holy Guardian Angel.
From a red girdle.
Passionate red, blood, Mars, girdle, the weapon of Venus, The Empress of the Tarot has a red girdle. The sword suspended from a red girdle tells us the passion of the priestess must serve her intelligence and will.
And the paten and hosts, or cake of light.
Round paten and hosts, symbolic of the sun. They are not already upon the altar. The priestess must deliver them herself. She must carry them with her. They are the eggs that, when properly fertilized, will provide part of the material basis for the object of the operation to incarnate. Whether that child be a physical baby, or the object of your heart's desire, or the holy guardian angel.
The deacon, he is clothed in white and yellow.
Pure white again, with red and blue make up the primary colors. Also yellow is the color of Mercury, the messenger of the gods, or the Logos who announces the word. If the priestess will become Nuit, and the priest Hadit, the deacon is Aiwas. You may ask, where does Rahur Kuit come in? As we'll see, Rahur Kuit will manifest after the mystic marriage as the child. It is he upon whom we will feast as our Eucharist. The deacon is referred to he, but it's conventional wisdom, and we're in total agreement that to serve as deacon, gender is of no consequence. In the Roman Catholic Mass, the elements are not manifest in human form, and the priest is more like the deacon in our Mass.
He bears the book of the law.
He delivers the law, as did Aiwas.
To children, they are clothed in white and black.
Official policy states that the roles of two children in Liber 15 can be filled by any two baptized adults, and most Mass teams do just that. We don't think we're being too heretical when we say that we believe that the two children should actually be two prepubescent humans. Children who do not inject a sexual factor into the equation. Besides, Crowley says children, not adults representing children. Even if two burly 40-year-old 7-foot volunteers play the parts of children in the ceremony, we'll still have an apple pie at the end of the day.
We believe that even if no one plays the parts of children in the ceremony, we will still have an apple pie at the end of the day.
Actually, we believe wholeheartedly that the Mass team should ideally include two prepubescent children. Crowley patterned the Gnostic Mass on the Mass of the Russian Orthodox Church that uses prepubescent boys as ritual assistants. Please notice that the children are not identified by gender. Later we'll see that they're identified as positive and negative. They can be two little girls or two little boys or one of each. It does not matter as long as they do not inject a sexual gender element into the equation. In all our years we've seen one or two Masses where two actual children served. The ceremonies took place years ago and they were a joy to behold. As far as we knew, the children were not coerced into serving. They volunteered and looked like they were having fun. These were rare events. The children didn't continue to serve in subsequent Masses because I think the fun wore off pretty fast, and in their little heart of hearts they didn't really feel like doing it again, and who can blame them? The Mass is an expression of Yod He Vav He and the Yod He Vav He formula. As we'll see during the course of the ceremony, the priest and priestess will transform themselves from He final and Vav into He and Yod. That process will create the quintessential sheen, the Holy Spirit, which will drop like a dove into the Holy Grail. The children are not, I repeat, the children are not, in our opinion, He final and Vav. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The point to remember is, in our opinion, the office of children is not a vital factor in the equation that is the magical formula of the Mass. Although they are helpful to both the priest and priestess during the preliminary purifications, and to the deacon when serving communion, they are not a critical part of the recipe, and their absence doesn't interfere with the successful execution of the great secret.
One bears a pitcher of water and a cellar of salt.
The two negative elements of water and earth.
The other a censer of fire and a casket of perfume.
The two positive elements of fire and air. Part 3. The ceremony of the introit. Introit from introitus, entrance.
The deacon, opening the door of the temple, admits the congregation and takes his stand between the small altar and the font. There should be a doorkeeper to attend to the admission. The deacon advances and bows before the open shrine where the Grail is exalted. He kisses the book of the law 3 times, opens it, and places it upon the super altar. He turns west. He says, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law."
If we had any doubts the deacon is Aiwass, we don't any longer. The deacon delivers the law to the world.
I proclaim the law of light, life, love, and liberty in the name of Iao.
The proclamation of the fourfold law in the name of the threefold deity of the Gnostics.
The congregation says, "Love is the law, love under will."
And the congregation affirms their acceptance of the law.
The deacon goes to his place between the altar of incense and the font, faces east, and gives a step and sign of a man and a brother. All imitate him.
Officially, the deacon must be a second-degree initiate of the OTO and obliged accordingly. However, with the permission from the primate, a first degree may be ordained deacon. The title of first degree is man and brother or woman and sister. What follows is the Gnostic Creed, the declaration not of our faith, but of our shared spiritual world view, and our agreement on the names and duties of the dramatis personae of the cosmos. Although since the dawn of consciousness these characters and principles have been called countless things by countless cultures, with this creed we are agreeing together, even if only for the duration of the Mass, on a set of terms under which other circumstances and other spiritual disciplines could easily be called something else.
The deacon and all the people say, "I believe in one secret and ineffable Lord."
The secret Lord, who is not very secret in a group like this, is the phallus. Here we cry foul. Why does the phallus get to be Lord? Is not the yoni as great as the phallus? Of course it is. But can't we hold our horses long enough to see what kind of pie we are baking? The yoni is as important as the phallus, but in this particular recipe, in this particular magical technique, the yoni is not the Lord.
And in one star, in the company of stars, of whose fire we are created, and to which we shall return.
The sun and the creative, penetrating photons of solar fire are the macrocosmic archetype of the phallus.
And in one Father of life, mystery of mystery, in his name, Chaos, the sole vice-regent of the sun upon the earth.
In Magic and Theory and Practice, Crowley defines chaos as, quote, the general name for the totality of the units of existence. It is thus a name feminine in form. Each unit of chaos is itself all-Father, unquote.
And in one air, the nourisher of all that breathes.
The solar fire can't do it alone. Air is the second positive element. Together with solar fire, the breath of life is created. It animates life as we know it.
And I believe in one earth, the mother of us all.
Now we turn to the negative elements. Mother Earth, who in partnership with the sun brings forth life as we know it.
And in one womb wherein all men are begotten, and wherein they shall rest. Mystery of mystery. In her name, Babylon.
The great cosmic and spiritual role of water on the physical plane, the amniotic fluid of space, the abstract act of ultimate reabsorption of self. Now you may scream, that's not fair. Why does Babylon get to be the womb? The phallus is the alchemical anthenor. Is not Chaos the father and Hokmah also a womb which incubates the master of the temple into a magus? Didn't Father Zeus incubate his son Dionysus in his own thigh? Of course he did. But can't we hold our horses long enough to see what kind of pie we are baking?
And I believe in the serpent and the lion, mystery of mystery, in his name, Baphomet.
Oh boy, this one's not so easy. Baphomet is a composite image, like a sphinx. The traditional Gnostic image of a serpent with a lion's head depicts the union of fire and water, the fixed signs of the zodiac, the positive and aggressive solar force of Leo in the summer wedded to the negative, dark and brooding fertile decay of Scorpio in the autumn. In sexual alchemy, the serpent and the lion is the spermatozoon itself. It's remarkable to think that this image was associated with sperm long before the invention of the microscope. Under the lens, the frisky little sperm cell looks most definitely like a serpent with an oversized, lion-sized head.
And I believe in one Gnostic and Catholic Church of light, life, love, and liberty, the word of whose law is Thelema.
And we must remember that the word Catholic simply means universal.
And I believe in the communion of saints.
Communion has a broad assortment of meanings. Exchange, union, fellowship, agreement, sharing, association, togetherness, accord, synergy. It could mean closeness, intimacy, familiarity, relation, or intercourse. As a sacrament, it is a Eucharist, Holy Communion, the breaking of bread, the Lord's Supper. As we'll soon see, one of the 11 collects is dedicated to the saints. Frankly, I'm not at all sure the saints referred to here are the same saints we'll find in the collects. There's great controversy and strong feelings surrounding that part of the Mass, so instead of opening up that can of worms now, we'll wait until we get there. As far as the creed is concerned, I think we can all agree at least on this level. If every man and every woman is a star, then by the broadest of definitions, the body of Thelemic worshippers are saints, and the communion of saints can be interpreted as fellowship for the purpose of sharing the Eucharist.
And forasmuch as meat and drink are transmuted in us daily into spiritual substance, I believe in the miracle of the Mass.
Thanks to Lon and Constance.